man, oh man, oh man. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope that you're doing lovely. Hope you're doing lovely. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling good on this beautiful, long song Saturday that we are doing today. And what are we doing? We're doing a full album listen. Paul Simon, Graceland, released 1986. This is, let me pull it up, his seventh solo studio album, I should enunciate, that we're going to be listening to today. Hope that you guys are excited for it. Hope that you're ready for it. This album has been recommended and suggested to me by the likes of the following people, and I'm sure many, many more. Chris Sharkey, Brumley Twitch, Courtney Wallace, Dave Cleggett, Keith Jones, David Chaplain, Jaybird, I see you there as well. Jovito Alamag, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Hold on, Jaybirdification, I think that you mentioned it as well. And then Jeremy Blackmore, I see your name popping up here. Also, lots of you. And the list keeps on going from there if I just give this a big old Control F. Anyways, I appreciate you guys suggesting the album to me. I'm excited to go ahead and dive into it. Before we do so though, however, because I like to use the attention on certain videos to draw to another artist, another blooming artist or musician, and I'd like to suggest someone to you, a band to you guys. I'm going to recommend the band, and I might be mispronouncing it, but they are from Belgium, Ka or Cow. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but they recently released an album called The Cycle Repeats. Listen, this is some nice, like, jazz-esque, but like it's instrumental. It is jazz, but like it's I think you guys are gonna like it. I highly recommend the track Kampala. I'll go ahead and link that track below, and then also their Bandcamp so you can check them out. But please go check them out. I highly recommend you giving that album a listen. Anyways, without further ado, that is all I have to say. Also, and if you do want to support the channel on Patreon, you can do that for as little as $2 a month, but you don't have to. You can just sit here and listen. Or if this is edited on YouTube, you can just go to Patreon and watch it for free. Let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to start off with the first track here, which is "The Boy in the Bubble," which, if I remember, was a movie from the 90s. Bubble Boy. Never saw it. I think he was allergic to everything. I know this is not based on that track. But anyways, let's give it a listen. We'll talk about it after. Let's go. It's a fat bass line.
The way the camera follows us in slow-mo, the way we look to a song is a miracle and wonder. This is the long-distance call.
I think "The Boy in the Bubble" starts you off on the right foot. Starts us off on right track listening to the album. So the first thing I think is kind of interesting is, like, who else would use an accordion to start the main melody of the song and then bring in a fat fretless bass around it? Like, just forget the song for a moment, but just bringing those two instruments as like the main lead, isn't that kind of like interesting? Like, they bring such a unique sound into the music, and I love how the accordion is just strung throughout the whole way. Simon himself, of course, sounds really nice on here. Sounds like deeply in thought. When I'm listening to his singing, he's not singing like, you know what I mean? He's not doing like a full arranged thing. He's kind of singing not so introspectively, but just kind of thoughtfully. He's thinking about what he's saying and how he's saying it. He's coming off as a very well-spoken and approached person with some dignity is the way they sing in here. And I really enjoy that. When the drums come in, you know that you get into that. It's a great movement there. And then I don't know exactly what it was, but you heard an instrument like a halfway or 3/4 of the way through that would come in just briefly. I want to lean towards it was guitar, but it didn't sound like guitar. It sounded like, I don't know, it's kind of like rose sharply and then went away, rose sharply again, went away. And I'm leaning towards guitar in it, but I can't quite say what that was. Of course, on this track, you're going to have Simon on vocals and then acoustic guitar. Who was playing the bass on here? But Bakithi Kumalo, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce any names on here, but that's who's going to be playing the bass on here. Just very, very nice fretless on that particular track. I gotcha. I gotcha. I'm 99% sure that sound I heard, I was half right. It was guitar, but it was guitar synthesizer. And who's playing it? Who? Who else could be playing guitar synthesizer on this track than Adrian Belew? That explains it. That explains that little abstract cutting edge bite into the music on... Okay. Okay. All right. I got you now. I got you. Says this particular track was the third single released from this album. Its lyrics explore starvation and terrorism juxtaposed with wit and optimism. So I give a little bit of a contrast there in the music. It says that it was the most successful single on the album Rock Tracks chart, where it peaked number 15 on that chart there in the U.S. It was a top 20 hit in the Netherlands and top 30 in the UK and Belgium. It says that the song retains the only lyrics Simon managed to compose on his South African trip. The way the camera follows us in slow-mo, the way we look to us all. The imagery in the video was inspired by film clips of the JFK assassination as well as Ronald Reagan's attempted assassination. It says the chorus also references the baby with a baboon heart, referring to Baby Faye. He said, hope and dread, that's the way I see the world. A balance between the two, but coming down on the side of hope. So let's actually go ahead and look at the lyrics here really quick. I should have done that first, actually. It was a slow day, and the sun was beating on the soldiers by the side of the road. There was a bright light, a shattering of shop windows. The bomb in the baby carriage was wired to the radio. Oh, okay, yeah. So there's definitely the terrorism and war part. These are the days of miracle and wonder. This is the long-distance call. The way the camera follows us in slow-mo, the way we look to us all. The way we look to a distant constellation that's dying in the corner of the sky. These are the days of miracle and wonder. Don't cry, baby, don't cry. Okay, you definitely catch the contrast there between the verse, of course, which is very harrowing, and then the chorus, which is just a little bit more hopeful and bright, looking towards the stars, looking towards hope. It was a dry wind, and it swept across the desert, and it curled into the circle of birth, and the dead sand falling on the children, the mothers and the fathers, and the automatic earth. So also describing a little bit of a cyclical nature of life, death, and a rebirth in some capacity. And I believe these are the days of lasers in the jungle somewhere, staccato signals of constant information, a loose affiliation of millionaires and billionaires and baby. Like people from all different lives and places in their lives, from the simplest, you could say a baby, to the most achieved with money and wealth, billionaires and stuff. But perhaps they're all connected and we're all connected in some way. That's deep. It says that this track took 3 to 4 months to create. There was some work put in on this one. That's really cool. Let's go ahead and move on into the next track here on the album, which is actually going to be the title track, Graceland. Let me get back up here. My phone locked. And here we go.
The Mississippi Delta was shining like a national guitar. We are going to Graceland. Explain, there's some part of me wants to see Graceland.
That little fill that it keeps on coming back to, that guitar and bass rhythm is so jangly and bouncy. The ba-da-da, ba-da-ba, that part it keeps coming back to. That little fill is so fun and it's so delightful to listen to every time it comes back to that. And just the rambling, kind of taking this journey way that Simon is delivering the music. I'm going to Graceland. Don't you see the adventure and feel that journey that he's taking here? He even says here in the lines, in the very beginning, he says, I'm going to Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee, Pilgrims and Pilgrims. My traveling companion is 9 years old. He is the child of my first marriage. Like, I'm assuming that this is very autobiographical. Just, I'm taking it as it is, at face value there. But you can see that road trip happening. You can see the sights. You can see the child looking out the window, just taking it all in and saying, hey, can we go to the wax museum? Simon's like, we're going to Graceland. Like, you can really feel that from the movement of the music. And like I said, not only is Simon, once again, very reflective and telling in his delivery here, but that guitar playing, the harmonies that arise in the more thoughtful moments, I thought was a really nice touch, because the song does kind of go between this bouncy chorus, this fun road trip, to something a little bit Once again, more reflective, more thoughtful. Why are they taking this trip? You know, there's some other stuff going on as he describes his relationship or his past relationship with his ex-wife in some of the lyrics there. So it's at those moments that you hear those like those harmonies come in, and that's the first time we hear that is even when he says she comes back to tell me she's gone, as if I didn't know that, as if I didn't know my own bed, as if I'd never noticed the way she brushed her hair from her forehead. Like he's really telling us all his stuff. He's really spilling the tea here. Yeah, he's giving us the chisme, right? And it's those moments where those harmonies come in, the music becomes more reflective before we snap out of it and get back to we're going to Graceland. Right? And I think that is so fun. Just a great contrast in the music. Kind of in the same way relating to the contrast of the first track we just heard between the war and the peace and hope here, between the adventure and moving forward and holding on perhaps to things from the past and moving past our relationships and broken relationships, I should say. The Mississippi Delta was shining like a national guitar. I am following the river down the highway through the cradle of the Civil War. Of course, going to see the sites, you're passing places where, you know, Civil War happened, different battles, etc., etc. So this is really a road trip to Graceland. That is the end goal, of course, where Elvis lived, right? And I would assume that the music here, that kind of rambling style, that like maybe that's also in reference to some of Elvis music. I don't know. I'm not overly familiar with Elvis, that, to be honest. I'm going to Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to Graceland. Poor boys and pilgrims with families, and we are going to Graceland. Like, that is the end goal. Now, the question is why? Why is Graceland the end goal? Is this really just simply a road trip, or is there something more to this? It says here on this particular track, the song features vocals by the Everly Brothers. Lyrics follow the singer's thoughts during a road trip to Graceland after the failure of his marriage. Actress and author Carrie Fisher, Simon's ex-wife. Hold on. Is this Carrie Fisher from Star Wars? It is. I had no idea that they were ever married. That is, I never knew that. Carrie Fisher said that the song referred in part to their relationship. Wow. I really had no idea that they were married. That is really, it's a new fact. I just learned that today. Interesting. Anyways, wonderful track here. Let's go ahead and move on into the next one, which is I Know What I Know, and what you don't know is what you don't know. Oh, I love their singing together.
I'll sing what I have said. I know. I'll sing what I have said. We come and we go. I said, who am I to blow against the wind? I know what I know. I'll sing what I have said.
A little ripper there at the end. Okay, in this particular track, the energy turns up just a little bit, but in a different way. The singing from those females in the back, like the women harmonies, and it's so fun and celebratory and festive. I love the energy that they bring, because it really does change it, right? Like when they come in, like it just changes the music and makes you smile. How can you not smile listening to that? There's at least two guitars playing in here. I'm sure that one of them is Simon himself. Let me see if I can find who the other guitarist is, because I really like the way that they were playing in there. So it looks like Simon's handling, obviously, the guitar and synclavier. Who is there anyone else playing guitar in this track? Because it sounded like a very unique playing, but no, I guess it is just Simon playing. He did a fantastic job playing, because especially in the beginning, like you heard a more rhythm guitar, and then on the left you heard it sounded kind of improvisational the way it was playing. It wasn't so much of a lead, but it was playing its own thing. And it had a really cool tone to it as well, which really played off of that other rhythm guitar, which I thought was just really nice. And then the female vocals there, that's going to be the Gaza sisters handling that in this particular track. And they sounded fantastic. They truly made the track to me. It was just incredibly fun to listen to, especially their contrast with Simon himself. You know, like they have a certain tone, a certain way of delivering and singing, and it just kind of offset Simon in the most wonderful of ways. This was a joy to listen to. She looked me over, and I guess she thought I was all right in a sort of limited way for an off night. She said, "Don't I know you from the cinematographer's party?" I said, "Who am I to blow against the wind?" Like, who am I to say no? Which tells me probably not, but who am I to tell you no? I know what I know. I'll sing what I said. We come and we go. That's a thing that I keep in the back of my head. I know what I know. I'll sing what I say. We come and go. Blah, blah, blah. She said, there's something about you that really reminds me of money. She is the kind of girl that could say things that weren't that funny. I said, what does that mean? I really remind you of money. She said, who am I to blow against the rim? Listen, you give it to her, and she's going to throw it right back at you. That's hilarious. What you know is what you know. What you don't know is what you don't know. And we can move through all that very fine. She moved so easily, all I could think of was sunlight. I said, aren't you the woman who was recently given a Fulbright? I don't know what that is. It says, a Fulbright is a high honor for education in the U.S. A presidential panel picks people who exhibit the highest of excellence in their fields and send them around the world to learn and teach at the best institutions. Okay, so that's what it was. She said, don't I know you from the cinematography part? Okay, so they're going back and forth. They're having a little bit of a flirty. That's what they're doing. They're basically flirting back and forth. They are it seems they're misrepresenting or misthinking who the other person is, but at the end of the night, I guess it doesn't really matter. I know what I know. Let's go ahead and move on into the next track here, which is going to be Gumboots. Now, I'm going to tell you, that's one of the worst feelings, one of them. The worst feelings is walking down the street, walking somewhere, and all of a sudden you feel your shoe begin to stick to the ground. And then, like, what do? Right? Like, do you just stop in the middle of wherever you are and start trying to find a stick and get the gum out of your shoe? Or, like, do you, like, just walk it off and wait till you get to a more private, secluded place, maybe home? I don't know. Gumboots. Hold on. Do I have it ready? Here we go.
Rearranging my position on this friend of mine who had a little. Love me, but I feel you. You don't feel you can love me, but I feel you. Very same day. I said, hey, senorita.
This is a really good track, too. Oh, man. I love the rhythm on this album so far. A lot of times it's just like, like it's pretty fast, you know, for the music that is playing, which is typically kind of thoughtful and, like I keep on using the word, but reflective. And I like how romantic and flirtatious this song is. So Simon's delivery in like the first part, in like the verse, when he's just kind of recounting the tale and talking to this person, he's kind of like he has a very natural speaking delivery. You know, like it's kind of half singing, but half just that kind of folk-esque, like just talking to you. Very, very conversational. But then as he gets into the chorus, when he says, you don't feel you could love me, but I feel you could. That's when he sings, and just as love makes your heart sing, that's why he sings in the chorus there. And that's also, once again, we have those female vocals just like a soft cloud, a soft pillow just to rest your laurels on. It just elevates everything. Then you have eventually the saxophones, which come in, just like it's just so fun. It's moving. This really feels like, musically, it really feels like a love song. You can feel the elation when you see someone that either you're in love with or you're just attracted to, whatever it is. You can feel that elation in the music. The birds begin to flutter. Your heart begins to beat a little harder. You begin to sweat. Like, you know what I mean? I think that musically they did a great job of capturing that. And then you even have, I think it's piano because you heard it in the previous track too, but it could be harp. But you hear that little zing, that little zest that floats and flutters across. And that's just like, you see them in a passing glance. And you're like, right? I think the music does a great job of capturing that emotion. I was having this discussion in a taxi heading downtown, rearranging my position on this friend of mine who had a bit of a breakdown. I said, hey, you know, breakdowns come, breakdowns go. So what are you going to do about it? That's what I'd like to know. You don't feel you could love me, but I feel you could. It was in early morning hours when I fell into a phone call believing I had supernatural powers. I slammed into a brick wall. I said, hey, what is my problem? Or is this my problem? Is this my fault? If that's the way it's going to be, I'm going to call the whole thing to a halt. So is this... I might be losing it. Is this him talking about, like, still, like, the love? Like, this person may be presenting a brick wall. They're friend zoning him, maybe, but he feels he could break it down. I don't know. I was walking down the street when I thought I heard this voice say, ain't we walking down the same street together on the very same day? I said, hey, senorita, that's astute. Why don't we get together and call ourselves an institute? And then he ends, I was having this discussion in a taxi heading downtown. So I even really like the way that the song fades out and we kind of hear him just continuing on with his story, as he begins to tell another part of the story. I really enjoy the way that it fades out there. This is a cool little album here. Let's go ahead and listen to the next track here. Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes. If you got diamonds on the soles of your shoes, you've made it. Let's go.
Awa awa awu jwayelekile kanjani kodwa zinsukwini zanamhla diamonds on the soles of the shoe.
Oh, that's lovely.
Diamonds on the soles of the shoe.
I'm talking about diamonds.
That's the best track on the album so far. What we just heard, that's a diamond. That is the best track so far. Okay. From the beginning, from the opening with the acapella, I knew. Well, I didn't know, but I had a feeling that this was going to be the best track so far on the album. I'm going to say something really dumb, okay? Don't laugh at me. Okay, you're allowed to laugh at me, but it wasn't until this song that I really made the connection that this album is very, very African influenced. Like, I heard it and I'm listening, but I didn't really like connect the dots here. And then I'm pulling up some of the information for the album and I'm like, oh, like it, yeah. And I hate saying African influence because Africa has a lot of different countries. So like what part of Africa? I don't know. We'll look into that so we can figure out the specifics here. But okay. So yeah, with that in mind, let's kind of rearrange myself and get back to this. But the harmonies. Oh, see, with the female harmonies in the previous tracks, they were, like I said, these beautiful clouds that just pushed and lifted, right? Here, the male group, it has this not sultry, but this deep, resounding comfort in the way that they sing. It sounds fatherly, it sounds tender, but strong enough to protect you. What a great opening there in this particular track. I mean, that was truly mesmerizing. And then, of course, the music kicks in, and you know where we're going with this. And it has that wonderful festive vibe about it. It's so dancey and energetic. And once again, Simon shines here, no doubt. But, I mean, even without Simon, this is like a brilliant track. Not putting him away. I'm just saying, like, the musicianship in here is just so overwhelmingly great. Especially, once again, I got to talk about the fretless bass in here. It is truly speaking in this track. The fretless is really doing a lot of work here, and it looks like once again that is going to be Bakithi Kumalo on the bass there. Just sensational. You got the saxophone and the horn sections. Lady Smith Black Mambazo is a South African male choral group, and that's who's singing in this particular track here. I mean, this is absolutely fantastic. And then the little bits of extra percussion that kind of sparsely throw themselves down around the music here. It's a great album, but this track so far is a really wonderful little love story. Let's get into the lyrics on this one. So the lyrics in the beginning translate to, "It's not usual, but in our days we see those things happen. They are women. They can take care of themselves. She's a rich girl. She's a rich girl. She don't try to hide it. Diamonds on the soles of her shoes. He's a poor boy, poor as a pocket, or empty as a pocket, with nothing to lose. People say she's crazy. She got diamond on the soles of her shoes. Well, that's one way to lose those walking blues. Diamonds on the soles of her shoes. She was physically forgotten. Then she slipped into my pocket with my car keys. She said, 'You've taken me for granted because I please you wearing these diamonds.' And I could say, as if everybody knows what I'm talking about. As if everybody here would know exactly what I was talking about. She makes the sign of a teaspoon. He makes the sign of a wave. The poor boy changes clothes and puts on aftershave. Like, it's kind of like a Jasmine Aladdin situation, Princess and a Street Rat. Like, someone from a higher societal place being in a relationship with someone from a lower society, or place in society, whether it's economically or etc. Put on the aftershave to compensate for his ordinary shoes. And she said, "Honey, take me dancing," but they ended up sleeping in a doorway by the bodegas and the lights on Upper Broadway, wearing diamonds on the soles of their shoes. So, first of all, I like the change from, now the diamonds are not just on her shoes, but now it's on their shoes, whether literally, physically, or just the relationship has coalesced towards one another and mixed together. So now they both have this richness, this love, this richness in love, I guess you could say. And then I love how, like, Upper Broadway, so they're going somewhere like fancy, and he's trying to impress her, but at the same time they don't even end up there. They end up sleeping in a hallway or in a doorway there. But just the love they have, like, it didn't matter where they were as long as they were together. That's really, really good. This track, it says, was the 4th single from the album. Did it chart? Because it should have. It should have. I don't see any chart information on this one. There you go. Australia 69, Canada number 2, Belgium 28, Netherlands 85, and UK 77. Okay, so it did chart. This was a really, really good one though for this one. Looking at some of the information on this one, it says it was written while he was in South Africa. While he was there, he gathered various music from locals. Upon returning to New York, Simon finished the album with the artists he had brought back from South Africa. Simon recalled that Diamonds wasn't originally planned to be on this album. When Simon, Ladysmith, Black Mambazo, and several of the South African studio musicians arrived in New York to perform on the May 10th episode of Saturday Night Live, which Simon was set to host, his label, Warner Brothers, decided to release the album in the fall instead of the originally planned release that July. Simon and his engineer had decided that with most of the major players involved in the recordings in town to record Diamonds, and it was included in the album. So he said, while you're here, let's just put it all together. And I gotta say, excellent decision to do so. Excellent decision to do so. With that being said, my friends in tow, let's move on into the second side of this album. Let's see. Hold on, let me pull it up here again. That side is going to begin with You Can Call Me Al. But before we move into the second side, I like to do it for the analytics. I like to see who's still watching. I want to say it's probably been like 45 minutes or so. I don't know. It's been something like that. So if you're still here at this moment, I just want you to put in the comments before or after your normal comment. Just tell me what can my test be? What can my test be? What color pants am I wearing? How about that? Paka! What color pants am I wearing? That's all. That's what you got to put in the comments to let me know you're still watching here halfway through the album. Without further ado, because a lot of people don't watch the whole thing. I see the analytics. I see it's like 20, 30%. I'm like, I know some of y'all here. Anyways, thank you if you're here for sticking around for the second side of the album. Let's go ahead and do so. Sorry for showing you my pants. I didn't know what else to show you. All right, let's go. Let's move on to the next track. You Can Call Me Al. Oh, that's a change.
I can call you Betty, Betty, when you call me, you can call me. Marketplace, scatterings and orphanages. He looks around.
Excuse me. Excuse me. This track has so much musical depth in it. There's so many instruments, there's so many little musical parts and details that this is probably one of those tracks you could listen to over and over again and continually hear something new in it. It has a lot of nuance. So for example, the drums, Isaac Shali. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing anything, but Isaac. I love that little fill he throws on the back end of the beat. That quick little shuffle, just like... I can't do it. I sound like I'm calling my cat. But like that, like, it's so fresh. It's so fresh when he adds that in. And then, for example, like, you already know I'm going to talk about the bass and I'm listening to it. But then we get the quickest of bass solos. The quickest. But it puts it down so heavy. And you know what? Arguably, what was being played on the bass beforehand could have been, like, regarded as a solo in a sense, no matter what. And once again, it's Mr. Kamalo on the bass. And he just gets a quick little moment. And boy, does he make use of it. And while it is a lot of notes that's being played in that bass solo, it's not like he just put it like pedal to the metal straight to the wall. Like, He put some thought into it. There's some melody. There's some movement in there. The hums. Once again, you have the Ladysmith Black Mambazo there. There's like that deep resonating hum. Once again, adding a sweet vibration to the music, while Paul Simon's more conversational tone and delivery kind of maintains that folk-esque storyline and through line. That is just so sensational. And then I see once again you have Adrian Blue on this album, or not this album, but on this song. There are some moments where I can't tell what it is. It may be Adrian Blue, but I'm also imagining it's probably him, along with the bass, along with the guitar, Ray Fury, and I'm assuming some more instruments. You know, everyone's doing something. But you can hear the strings, whether it's from bass, guitar, or whatever, that's like very close to the mic, very popping. You can hear the strings like being popped, you know? And I think that that's really cool, like that intimacy that's brought into the music there. This is just such a cool album to listen to. And then you have that little, it's a penny whistle from Morris Goldberg. You have that little penny whistle that just sings a little bit of a solo there in the music. And see, look, I wanted to say when I heard that, oh, that's a whistle. But I knew if I, whenever I'm listening and I'm unsure of like what instrument's being played, 90% of the time if I mention the instrument, it's probably wrong. It's probably the wrong one. So I thought it was better just to keep my mouth shut on that one. A man walks down the street. He says, "Why am I soft in the middle now? Why am I soft in the middle? The rest of my life is so hard. I need a photo opportunity. I want a shot at redemption. Don't want to end up a cartoon in a cartoon graveyard. Bone digger, dogs in the moonlight. Far away in my well-lit door, Mr. Beerbelly. Get these mutts away from me. You know, I don't find this stuff amusing anymore." I have no idea what he's talking about, but he's like having a little bit of an existential crisis. Like, why am I soft in the middle now? The rest of my life is so hard. Maybe he's gotten fat. Beer belly, soft in the middle. Okay, all right. So maybe he's gaining a little weight. If you'll be my bodyguard, I can be your long lost pal. I can call you Betty, and Betty, when you call me, you can call me Al. A man walks down the street. He says, "Why am I short of attention? Got a little attention span. Well, my nights are so long. Where's my wife and family? What if I die here? Who'll be my role model?" He ducked back down the alley with some roly-poly little bat-faced girl. All along, there were incidents and accidents. There were hints and allegations. So, I think he's like going through a little bit of like an existential crisis right now. He's questioning all these things, and we don't know because it says there were hints and allegations. So, you know, there's nothing in stone. But was he trying to perhaps capture some sort of like, I don't know, youth in some sense, like maybe with a prostitute? I don't know if that's exactly what happened there. Man walks down the street. It's a street in a strange world. Maybe it's a third world. Maybe it's his first time around. Doesn't speak the language. He holds no currency. He's a foreign man. He is surrounded by the sound, cattle in the marketplace, scatterlings and orphanages. He looks around, sees angels in the architecture. Spinning in infinity, he says amen and hallelujah. Like, did he find himself? Did he find what he was looking for? Did he answer his existential crisis? Its lyrics were partially inspired by Simon's trips to South Africa and experience with its culture. The names in the song came from an incident at a party that Simon went to with his then-wife, Peggy Harper. French composer and conductor Pierre Boulez, who was attending the same party, mistakenly referred to Paul as Al and Peggy as Betty. Well, there's the inspiration for the name here. It says that the lyrics can be interpreted as a man describing and experiencing a midlife crisis. Okay. So not an existential crisis, he's just getting up there. That's okay. However, as Simon himself explained, by the third verse, the lyrics move from a generic portrait-like perspective to a personal and autobiographical one as he describes his journey to South Africa. Okay, so it's more of a midlife crisis thing, and he's just kind of feeling lost in life, I guess you could say, at this particular moment. Well, we're not lost here on the track listing because the next song we're going to is Under African Skies. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Joseph's face was black as night. The pale after the dream of falling and calling your name out.
Let's let these next two tracks. Let's let this one go into the next one, which is Homeless. Let's let them both go together. Wow. Wow. Homeless. I mean, Under African Skies was good. Like, yeah, but Homeless. Now we really got a full. Listen, when I first heard, oh gosh, I'm already forgetting their names. The group, the vocal group. I'm not looking them up, but but when I first heard the vocal group, I was like, I love their. Obviously, love their voices. I'm really enjoying that, and to be given a full track, just a cappella, is wondrous. The sounds that they're able to make here make them so beautifully. The trills, the rhythms, the charge, like all the different sounds, the way they create these intricacies, I think is absolutely brilliant. It's wonderful. I mean, it's uniquely talented what they're able to do there. And Simon doesn't sound out of place. I like how in the second half, he kind of begins a new charge, if you will, and then the group follows, and then they take over and lead, and it's this beautiful, magnificent tapestry of just vocal performances that I think is unmatched. That is absolutely wonderful, especially coming off of Under African Skies, which you heard a beautiful female vocalist on there, and that was going to be Linda Ronstadt, actually, who's going to be there. Makes sense, because her name's there and everything. Under African Skies was really beautiful. It was almost this nocturnal, quiet down. The lights are low. We've had our fun. We've had our play. Now let's sit down and get ready to go to sleep. And these are the voices that approach you as you're about to fall asleep, covering you like a warm blanket on a cold night where you're looking up to the skies, looking up to the stars and wondering all the little things that you wonder when you look up to the stars, all the little questions. And just the way that these two songs, I'm putting them together because I just listened to them together, but the way that they bind it together, I think created a really magical experience, especially ending there with Homeless. I think that was just absolutely wonderful. Under African Skies, it says that this track originated in later recording sessions for this album. It says Simon flew over several South African musicians to New York to complete the record after the original sessions in Johannesburg, paying them triple union rates in order to lure them to record, as many did not know who he was. He also offered writers' royalties to those who he felt had contributed particularly to the song's contributions or compositions. And you also, once again, have Adrian Belew on guitar in Under African Skies. Looking at the lyrics for Under African Skies, Joseph's face was black as night, the pale yellow moon shone in his eyes. His path was marked by the stars in the southern hemisphere as he walked his days under African skies. This is the story of how we begin to remember. This is the powerful pulsing of love in the vein. After the dream of falling and calling your name out, these are the roots of rhythm, and the roots of rhythm remain. It says for the first verse that it's perhaps relating to Ladysmith Black Mambazo's creator, Joseph Shambalala. This verse may be telling the story of his earliest memory, or why he devoted himself to music. So that makes sense. That's who Joseph is there in the verse there. In early memory, mission music was ringing round my nursery door. I said, take this child, Lord, from Tucson, Arizona, give her wings to fly through harmony, and she won't bother you no more. I don't think that's talking about Joseph anymore. I don't know who that maybe it's talking about on that one. That part I'm not sure. Maybe it's talking about Linda, perhaps. that I can't say. And then moving on to Homeless, it says that this particular song launched the international career of the South African group and introduced Zulu Isicathemia music to new Western audiences. Shabalala provided the music and the melody of a traditional Zulu wedding tune and new Zulu words. Simon provided the English lyrics. The text has been taken as protest music, though Shambalala has said that the phrase "we are homeless" is similar to the words a Zulu person uses when proposing to his bride. Okay, so that's where that may be attributing to in Homeless. And a lot of the words are not in English. Some of them are homeless, homeless, moonlight sleeping on a midnight lake, homeless, homeless, we are homeless. Moonlight sleeping on a midnight lake. Somebody say hi, somebody sing hello, somebody cry, somebody say and sing hello. And like I said, some of the other lyrics I don't have a translation up here, but that's at least what we can kind of gather on the meaning from Mr. Shabalala. Now, those are two good tracks. Those are two really good tracks. Let's move into the next one, Crazy Love Volume 2. Let's go. Does it start off quiet? It's playing. Does it start off quiet? It's been playing for 24 seconds. Hold on. Let me make sure. Is it? No. Homeless was playing. Okay. I don't know what happened, but there it is. That guitar line that moves up and down is very beautiful.
She says she knows about jokes. This time the joke is on me.
I already warned you that half the time when I label an instrument, I get it wrong. It was saxophone, not flute. I don't know. I did think saxophone. I don't know. Anyways, after the very, very moving Homeless, this kind of gets us back into that jam fun territory, right? But slowly, it eases us back in. So it has really great placement on the album. And I think that that's an underrated thing, like where to place tracks on the album and how to put that track listing together and make that the mood right, the way that the artist and the band wants it. Anyways, Crazy Love. I love that guitar line that just keeps playing up, playing down. It's flitting. It's like a bird that's just flying through the sky, up and down. And it's kind of wondrous to listen to. It's so fun. That's the imagery I'm getting from that guitar line. The bass is more moody, more like laid back than all the busyness we've gotten before. I like the busyness, but I like how this one kind of takes a step back. I don't know if it's the same bassist playing on this particular track. No, it's going to be Lloyd LaLosa on the bass on this one, and then Morris Goldberg on the saxophone here as well. I just like how it's taking a step back, just providing a nice backbone, a nice thick backbone for the rhythm for us to kind of go with the music. Paul sounding really wonderful in here. That saxophone addition is a really nice touch, and the drums just playing straight line. This is a more even track. It's still good, obviously, but it's more like, hey, we're getting back to business now. You know, like this is kind of getting back to business, and this is a track that I could like listen to like on vacation. It has that light, fluffy kind of feeling to it, but no doubt musically it may be light and fluffy. But let's get into the lyrics, where I'm sure there's a lot of depth in here. Fat Charlie the Archangel sloped into the room. He said, I have no opinion about this, and I have no opinion about that. Sad as a lonely wrinkled balloon, he said, well, I don't claim to be happy about this, boys, and I don't seem to be happy about that. I don't want no part of this crazy love. I don't want no part of your love. I don't want no part of this crazy love or no part of your love. She says she knows She says she knows about jokes. This time the joke is on me. Well, I have no opinion about that, and I have no opinion about me. Somebody could walk into this room and say your life is on fire. It's all over the evening news. All about the fire in your life on the evening news. I don't want no part of this crazy love. So is he basically just saying he doesn't want any part of anything? He has no opinion on this or that. He doesn't want to be part of this or that. He is completely like neutral. He doesn't want to be involved in nothing. Fat Charlie the Archangel files for divorce. He says, well, this will eat up a year of my life. And then there's all that weight to be lost. She says the joke is on me. I say the joke is on her. I said I have no opinion about that. Well, we'll just have to wait and confer. I don't know what this song is about, except I'm assuming that this Crazy Love Volume 2, of which I'm assuming somewhere there's a Volume 1, I'm assuming that he doesn't want any part to, he's maybe looking at this couple. He doesn't want to be part of them. Maybe he is part of the couple. I don't know, but he doesn't want to be involved in nothing. Let's go ahead and listen to this next track. That Was Your Mother. Is that what the Crazy Love's talking about? How I Met Your Mother? Let's go ahead and That Was Your Mother. There's the accordion again. Stone.
Well, I'm standing on a corner of Lafayette, state of Louisiana.
This sounds like a parade, like in New Orleans, down Bourbon Street or something. This album is really, this album is really traveling to a lot of different places. So clearly there, we're going down New Orleans. The ending really sounded like a parade down Bourbon Street, or what I'm assuming sounds like a parade down Bourbon Street. I don't know. I don't know anything about New Orleans. But like the energy of it, before we had gone to Graceland, of course we have all the South African influence, and now just moving on over to New Orleans, to Nolens. That was such a fun little track too. That one really pushes the energy, right? That was like a polka flavor. Is New Orleans, like the music there, like kind of polka flavored? Right? I don't know anything about polka. But even still, you got the accordion that comes back, which makes a lot of sense here. Paul is, I love the way he delivers, especially in lieu of the lyrics, right? I mean, this really is kind of like How I Met Your Mother, basically. A long time ago, before you were born, dude, when I was still singing Life Was Great, I held this job as a traveling salesman, moving from state to state. I'm standing on the corner of Lafayette, state of Louisiana, wondering where a city boy could go to get a little conversation, drink a little red wine, catch a little bit of those Cajun girls dancing to the Zydeco. Along came a young girl, she's pretty as a prayer book, sweet as an apple on Christmas Day. I said, good gracious, can this be my luck? If that's a prayer book, let us pray. Was that his pickup line? Well, that was your mother and that was your father before you was born, dude. I like how he says dude, like he's trying to get on his child's level. When life was great. You are the burden of my generation. I sure do love you. Let's get that straight. He's talking about his generation, his kid's generation, but he's still reaffirming, hey, I love you. But I'm just telling you. And isn't that the truth? Like, the old generation always blames the new generation on something. It always goes that way. I'm standing on the corner of Lafayette, blah, 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 blah. He's just talking to his kid, who I'm assuming is the first kid that he's taking on his road trip to Graceland. I don't know. But that's funny. And the music is just so fun to listen to on this one. Let's go ahead and finish out the album listening to the final track here. I'm going to say one thing. Doing album listens, I like doing album listens, but my jaw hurts after a while. So if I tend not to talk as much, it's because my jaw is like, I'm dying right now. All Around the World, or The Myth of Fingerprints. I should have brought my water. That's what I need right now. All Around the World, or The Myth of Fingerprints. That's an interesting song title. Let's go ahead and figure out what they're talking about. Here, let me back it up a little bit. Here we go. Swing to it.
Somebody says, what's a better thing to do? It was the myth of fingerprints. That's why we must learn to live.
I think Fingerprints is a fine conclusion to the album, maintaining the same energy that we've had throughout, maintaining the same musicianship, and obviously stellar quality. I will admit, I do wish that the ending was something a little bit more unique at this particular point. Because like we've had this throughout the whole album, and like I said, this is obviously a good song. It sounds great and everything. I wish that there was like maybe more from Ladysmith. Bring the vocal group back, like something like that would have, like, I don't know, or a small like little acoustic piece just to kind of like quiet it down. But that's me being picky. That really is just me being picky. It's a really nice song regardless. Paul sounds great. Musicianship is great. I will say that there's nothing on this particular track that stands out like the other ones, but it's a fine track nonetheless. I don't have a ton to say on it because like I said, I really don't think there's anything that really sticks out to me more than any other tracks on this album. But it's a good little ending. Over the mountain, down in the valley, lives a former talk show host. Everybody knows his name, he said. There's no doubt about it. It was the myth of fingerprints. I've seen them all, and man, they're all the same. Like all the fingerprints are the same? Well, that's the myth of fingerprints? Well, while the sun gets wary and the sun goes down, ever since the watermelon, and the lights come up on the black pit town, somebody says, what's a better thing to do? Well, it's not just me, and it's not just you, this is all around the world. Is he saying like fingerprints, everyone has different fingerprints, like, but we're not also different? Maybe that's the myth. Okay. This is my theory. The fingerprint thing is, everyone has a different fingerprint. Yes, we all have unique fingerprints, but the myth is that, we're all the same. We're all united. There's nothing differentiating it. I think that that's what he's kind of getting to. I'm not sure about the whole ever since the watermelon thing going on there. That I'm not really sure about. Out in the Indian Ocean somewhere, there's a former army post abandoned just like the war. And there's no doubt about it, it was the myth of fingerprints. That's what the old army post was for. Like, people were fighting and wars are performed and done because people are different. Is that kind of what he's getting at with this one? That's what I'm thinking. Over the mountain, down in the valley, lives the former Toxo host. Oh, I guess that's what. And he says, that's why we must learn to live alone. I feel like I'm pretty close on that one. Like, let me see if there's any information on this particular track, but I feel like can't be too far off. It says the American group Los Lobos appears on the last track. Saxophone player Steve Berlin felt they deserved writing credits. Simon, quite literally, and in no way do I exaggerate when I say he stole the song from us. We go into the studio and he had quite literally nothing. I mean, he had no ideas, no concepts, and said, let's just jam. Paul goes, hey, what's that? We started playing what we have of it, and it is exactly what you hear on the record. The album sold 13 million copies, and we never got paid a penny for it, not even the session recording. We moaned about it to the label's president nonstop and could not get a straight answer out of him regarding the song. According to Berlin, when he contacted Simon about the lack of credit, Simon responded, sue me, see what happens. Simon denied this and said the album came out and we heard nothing. Then 6 months passed and Graceland had become a hit, and the first thing I heard about the problem was when my manager got a lawyer's letter. I was shocked. Okay, let's use this to lead in to some of this, because there's a whole subheading on the Wikipedia page for Graceland that is just controversy. There is a lot of controversy about this album. I'm not going to read this whole thing because there's a lot. Following the album's success, Simon faced accusations by organizations such as Artists United Against Apartheid, anti-apartheid musicians including Billy Bragg, Paul Weller, Jerry Damon, blah, 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 saying Simon had broken the cultural boycott imposed by the rest of the world against the apartheid regime in South Africa. They called him naive and condemned him for potentially damaging anti-apartheid solidarity. There's a lot. I mean, this article is huge. And Linda Ronstadt. Simon's choice to feature the American singer Linda Ronstadt on Under African Skies was criticized, as 3 years earlier she had accepted $500,000 to perform at Sun City, a South African luxury resort. Said her inclusion on this album was like using gasoline to put out a birthday candle. Even if the lyrics called for total U.S. divestiture, Ronstadt's presence on Graceland would be a slap in the face of the world anti-apartheid movement. There's so much in here. Threats against Simon, allegations of plagiarism, which we just read. There's a lot. There's some stuff on here. I don't know how it all was resolved and everything, but there is a lot of controversy and apparently troubles with this album and the recording and afterwards when it came out and everything. I don't know. But what I can say is that Diamonds on the Soles of Her Heels, or of Her Shoes, is my favorite track here on the album, followed by Homeless. Yeah, I would even go as far as saying the twofer with Under African Skies and Homeless. Man. Woo! Guys, my mouth is tired. Thank you so much. First and foremost, beyond anything, thank you so much if you've gotten to this point in watching the video and sticking around with me. I know I talk a lot. Hope you enjoyed at least some of it. Hope you enjoyed wholly the music, though. That's something. I would love to know your thoughts on the album. What do you think about it as a whole? What's your favorite track on it? Is this Paul Simon's best solo album? Etc., etc. I want to know. And are you as in love with Homeless as I am? Let me know. All that in the comments down below. Press the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you like, you can support the channel and what I do on Patreon for as little as $2 a month. You don't have to. It's just there. Otherwise, please enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for spending some time with me. And I know it was some time because I don't know how long it's been, but I know it has been a little bit. So I appreciate you carving a portion of your day out for me and for listening to the music with me. So have a wonderful rest of it, guys. And I'll see you all later. Bye.